Okay, just gonna solve some 3-variable truth tables before sleep. All right. Plug in the writing pad. Restart the PDF, which just for some reason never seems to work upon first try. Still don't know why, but it's okay. And move it over. Make it bigger. And here we commence. Here we go. So, how is it that these work? Right. Okay. Yeah. It'll be false in all of these because it's a disjunction is a disjunction is a primary connective, and R is the right disjunct, and therefore it'll be false whenever R is false. And here, well, true and false is false, and that's true, and then true or true is true. False and true. False and true is false, and so not false is true, and true or true is true. Oh, and it'll be true here, won't it? Yes. Right, okay, I get it. When it's the main connective, when disjunction is the main connective, and that one of the disjuncts is just an atomic proposition, then I can just it'll just mirror that, won't it? All right, now to check. No, that's not right. Right, okay. So, why is this true? This one here is true, apparently. Oh, no, wait. Oh, my goodness me. What sloppy thinking. Try again. Okay. It's not going to be that easy. Okay, so. True and false. Well, that's false. Not false is true, and true or false is true. False and true is false, not false is true, and true or false is true. False and false is false, not false is true, and true or false is true. And now I understand. All right. P implies that Q implies R. P implies that Q implies R. Okay, so what I'm really looking for is the only exception in implication is this one. Otherwise, it's always true, right? So I just want to know when is Q if and only if R, when is that actually false? Well, that's false precisely when they disagree. So that would be here. and here, and here, and here. So in this case, Q if and only if R is false, and there it's going to be false, but there it's false implies false, which for implication is actually true. And then for the other ones, it's true implies true, true implies true, false implies true, which is true, and then false implies true, which is true. So T, FF, and the rest T. Correct. Good. Okay. P or Q and not R. So conjunction is the main connective, and conjunction is only true when both conjuncts are true. So when this is true and this is true, that's the only time that it's true. And that's only going to be true when R itself is false. It's only going to be true under those conditions. When R is true, then that will be false. So when R is true, mark them all as false. There. Now, that one is true. That one is true. That one is true. False and not true? Well, that's false. All right. So, FT, FF. Darn it. Disagreement here. But why? Okay, true or false? Well, that's true. And then true and not true. Wait. Are you sure you are you sure? Are you sure? Okay, let's just do it. Okay, so true or false? Well, that's false. Okay. And not true. Not true is false. Okay. False and false. Okay. I'm in actual genuine disagreement with them here. So sure hope that right. P or Q and not R. Truth table for this, please. Yeah, I've got to resolve the disagreement. It's the only way to learn. The only way to learn. Okay, now that is like... Okay, standard ordering. FTF. Okay. This is big. Oh my goodness me. They got it wrong. They got it absolutely wrong. Okay. This is huge. Right. Okay, no problem. We'll rely on... No, this will be good because why? Because then I get to practice typing propositional statements, compound statements, propositional logic. Okay, so this one here would be, and I'll do 3 at a time. So I'll do 3 at a time. No, I'll do 5 at a time. So we're just going to do these last two. So not P. Not P implies Q and R. P XOR Q implies R. Okay. Now to figure out the truth tables. False implies true. That's true. False implies false. That's true. False implies false. False implies false. That's true. False implies false. That's true. True implies true. True implies true. True implies true. True implies false. Okay. It's only when one of them is true. Yes. Okay. I understand. False implies true. Does false imply true? Does false imply false? Does true imply true? Does true imply false? Does true imply true? Does true imply false? Does true? Does false imply true? Does false imply false? Okay, check these. Okay. Darn it. Not P implies Q and R. Okay. All true, but these are not true actually. It's false. But why? True imply false? No, that's false. Oh my Goodness me. Okay, getting used to this. Does true imply false? No. Right, the next one. Okay, got that one correct. P and Q or P and R. Just one of these has to be true. And therefore, no, don't do that. FT is F, and F or F is false. FT, FF, FT, FF. So that's F, F or F is false. FF, FT. That's F or F is false. Okay. P and Q or P and R. That's number 6. Number 7. That's only true when you have true on the left and true on the right. So true there. True or false? Well, that's true. True. False. 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 True. And this statement is P if and only if Q or R. Next. True or true? Like that. Like that. Okay, so that's only going to be true when R is true. When R is false, just forget it. And here, true or true, true, false, false and true, false, true or false, true, false, false and true, false, false or true, true, false, false and true, false, false or false, false, true, true and true, true. Okay, and this statement says not P or Q and R. P implies Q. P implies Q and Q implies R. True. False. Just one of them has to be false. That's all. But if they're both true, then it's true. Okay. False. False. True. False. True. True. P implies Q and Q implies R. Okay. P or open brackets Q and R. Okay. True. True. All these are true. That one's true. And all these are false. This is actually remarkably interesting. Like just the process of creating these truth tables. Correct. 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 Man, I'm kind of getting in the swing of this. Speed things up. I'll type them in over there. Conjunction of all three. And that's only going to be true when all of them are true, which is only on the top row. And so that'll like be not true, which is false, and all the rest of the time it'll be this conjunction of P, Q, and R will be false because at least one of them differs, and therefore all the rest of the time it'll be true, the entire statement. And don't forget to type it in. P and Q and R. Okay, P or Q implies R and P. Okay, that's only false when we have a truth there and a falsehood there. And all right, when do we have a truth here? No. That makes you weak writing out the workings out. You need to figure it out yourself. True imply, I mean, duh. This one. False. False. No! Sloppy. True. See? Okay. True on the left. False on the right. And therefore, that's a falsehood. True on the left. Oh, for goodness sake. Right, so true on the left. Come on. True on the left. False on the right. So false. True on the left. False on the right. So false. True on, not true on the left. False on the left. False on the left, which is always true. False on the left, which is always true. And that's good. So this is P or Q. Implies R and P. Now we have XOR, XOR. Now I don't know how this works. Presumably it's associative based on what they've done now. So and perhaps this is sort of like the truth table as a proof of the associativity of it. But anyway, how does it work? P XOR Q. It's only true when precisely one of them is true. So yes, try it out. I'm actually genuinely curious as to what this table looks like. Okay, so that's going to be false from the outset. That will be false. That will be false because there's agreement now. That will be false. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Now think. That will be true. True, true XOR true is false. False XOR false. False XOR false is false. True XOR false. True XOR false is true. True XOR true is false. True XOR false is true. True XOR false is true. False XOR false. False XOR true is true. True XOR true is false. false or true is true. True or false is true. False or false is false. False or true is true. False or false is false. And false or false is false. So I believe it looks like that. But like I say, I'm genuinely curious as to what this actually looks like. You know, this is deeper properties about these things. Now, P implies Q, or Q implies R. Okay, so wrong. P implies R, or Q implies R. That's what I meant to say. So true implies true. That's true. So true or but only one of them has to be true. So in that case, yes, and I don't care about what that one says. Another example here, wrong. Wrong. Look, it's P implies R. So that there on the left is false. And that there on the right is false as well. See? So on the left, P implies R. So true implies true? Well, that's true. True implies false? Well, that's false. And does false imply false? Well, that's true. So there. Next up, false implies true. That's true. Next up, false implies wrong. Again. So false implies true. That's true. False implies false. That's true. False implies true. That's true. False implies false. That's true. Okay. Next. Right. Order of precedence, yes? So okay, so it's a disjunction of three variables, like alpha or beta or gamma. And that's only true. No, that's only false when all of them are false. And this is going to be the case when all of them are true. Right? If it was just P, Q, and R, the whole table would be true and just the last row would be false. And because everything is flipped, now it turns into this. Now evaluate. Let's see. Okay. Right. For the 11th one. That's correct. For the 12th one. True, false, true, false. False, false, true, true. Correct. For the 13th one. True, false, false, true. False, true, true, false. True, false, false, true. False, true, false. Very interesting. Very interesting. Look at that beautiful pattern right there. I want to learn it somehow. Okay. 14th one. Correct. 15th one. Correct. Okay. Getting better. P and Q implies not R. Let's see what we can do. So this is only false. This is only false when it's of the form TF. But that's a lot of work to do, so just literally run it through. T and T, that's T. True implies false. No, that's false. True implies true. Well, that's true. False implies false. That's true. False implies true. That's true. False implies. That's true. Just when I hear false implies, just write down true. Okay, so false implies, that's true. False implies, that's true. False implies, that's true. See? It's actually, once I recognize that implication is the main connective, as long as I hear just false over here, that's fine. Okay, so we wrote that down. Good. Next up. P if and only if. P if Q if R. Right. True. False. No, it's only going to be true under these two circumstances, I believe. Wrong. You don't understand. Okay. Look. True, if and only if true, right? That's true. Now, does true if and only if false? Well, that's false. Be careful. True if and only if false. False. And false if and only if true. False. True if and only if false. Okay, just cut down on the workload. So, false, 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 true. False. False. That's what I believe for that one. Okay. Okay. Continue. The negation of that. So whenever R is true, this whole thing has to be true. True, 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 true. Now, when R is false, just that there has to evaluate as true. So true implies true. True. That is false. So false. Next up, true implies false. Well, that's false. Negate true. So there. False implies true. True. So false. False implies false. That's true. That's false. So false. Not P implies Q or R. Now for the 19th one. P or not Q. No, P and not Q or R. Again, the disjunction is the main connective, and so if R is true, then it's true. So straight away we get these rows done. Now this here needs to evaluate as true for the entire compound proposition to be true. So let's see if it does. So true and false. Well, that's false, and therefore the whole thing is false. True and true. Well, that's true, and therefore the whole thing is true. False and false and false. Well, false and false is false, and therefore the whole thing is false. And then false and true. Well, that's false, and therefore the whole thing is false. Okay. Open brackets P and not Q or R. Okay, next we have P implies Q implies R. Okay, so if P is false, then the whole thing is true. And if this is false, then the whole thing is false. And this is only false for TF. So that'll be false. And all the rest will be true. Right? That one clearly so. That one, yes. And that one, yes. All right. Okay. Okay, now to check. It's all about getting it right. Agreed. How they've laid it out. TFFT. Yes, we're in agreement. And I also recognize that this is the same as XOR. Very similar. Sorry. Anyway. TF to T, TFTF. TF to T, TFTF. Right, good. TF to T, TFTF. TF to T, TFTF. Did I not recognize that I actually did essentially the same thing? So these are logically equivalent. See? Building up to it. Interesting. TF to T, oh, the rest is false. Okay. Okay. Right, we're ready now. We're ready for the next level. For the next 5. Okay. P or Q and P or R. Whenever P is true, those disjuncts are true. And we need both of them to be true, but so just these first 4 are handled sweetly there. Okay, so we have true on the left. And true on the right, so that's true. True on the left. And false on the right, so that's false. False on the left. False, clearly false. Okay, so the compound statement is P or Q and P or R. Next up, the negation of a material equivalence and R. By precedence, we go there. Okay, so whenever the right disjunct is false, the entire thing is false. So false, 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 false. True there. Okay, so we only care, is this here, is it true? And the only time it can be true is when the interior here is false. So you have to find out when this. Okay. False if and only if false. That's true. And then that's false and false, or false and true is false. So now to write it down, not P, if and only if Q and R. And now for this one. Okay, so when R is true, the whole R, okay, implication is the main connective. True implies true. It's true. True implies false. It's false. Oh, you can't do it. It's not that simple. Sorry. Just try. Okay. The top row is true. Notice we have a conjunction here, but a disjunction here, and a just get on with it. Okay. True or that's false. No, those are the easy ones. True and false. I said true and false. Well, true and false is false. So that one there has to be true. And is it? Is false and true true? False and true is false. So I think that this is... But what am I doing? When it implies a truth, right? That must be true. Look, here's the table for implication. There's P and Q, and now for P implies Q, it looks like this. Okay, so notice when I have true where Q is, it's always true. When the consequent is true, it's always true. You can make sense of this by thinking that like a truth is just implied by anything, and therefore that's true, so is that, and so is that. So it's not so bad, right? Now, when everything is false, I find that easier on my mind. False and false, well, that's false. Okay. True and true, well, that's true. False or true. False or true is true. And does true imply false? No, it doesn't. That's false. Okay. This one here. Okay, so this one might be false, but it really does depend on what this evaluates to. So false and true. Well, that's false. So we have a false on the left. And so we need this thing here to be true. So just plug them in. Okay. True and false. Well, that's false. And therefore, it's not what we need. It doesn't satisfy it. Get used to that language. Okay. Here, true and false is true and false is false. And so this here needs to be true. So put them in. All right. False and true. Well, that's false. And so the whole thing is. Oh no, I have a feeling that I've done this wrong. Okay, 23 may be like my sort of mental limit. That's fine. We had to find our ceiling at some point, right? Or, you know, ceiling for now. Okay. Now, a disjunction is only false when all of them are false, and so that would be this row here. However, notice that we have not Q right there. So we're looking for FTF. So that there is the falsehood there. Okay, so there. P implies Q, if and only if Q implies R. That is only true. Oh my goodness me. Okay. True. False. False. True. True. False. True. True. Okay. Now to check. Now to check. All right. Here we go. Correct. Correct. Oh, big one. Oh, I knew it. I knew it. Sorry, this one's a lot harder than what I thought. Okay, just try the next one. Okay, correct. And there's a disagreement on that row right there. But understand the disagreement. So just pencil it in, understand it. True implies false. Well, that's false. False implies false. Well, that's true. And false and true. Oh, yeah. I understand. Okay, so that was good. Tough for me, but good. All right, all is well, and I will see you soon and speak to you soon and be well.